Hello, and welcome to Wizardry.
You're late.
A wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
In this video, I'm continuing the painting for Kids' Choice Camps, the faction leaders from the Dungeons of Drakkenheim, a Dungeons & Dragons 5e adventure. These models are from the combined efforts and talents of the Dungeon Dudes, Monty Martin, and Kelly McLaughlin, and with the cooperation of Ghostfire Gaming. If you're not familiar with these names, I'll have links in the description. Our cast of characters are the Queen of Thieves, Lucretia Mathis, Elias Drexel, Eldrick Runeweaver, and Theodore Marshall. After some mold line work and a prime, I dry brushed a base coat of dark gray, then a medium gray with a highlight of pure white. I prepped the model this way to establish my highlights and shadows, on which I'll apply glazes. I guess you could categorize this as a slapchop, smashchop, rawchop. I'm not quite sure what the term would apply, but this decision was very deliberate. Joe at Nightmare Landscapes introduced me to Nat.Davis of Kids' Choice Camps, so all these miniatures are painted with Nightmare Landscape paints, and I love the way they glaze. So that's how my decision had been made. I had painted the delirium dregs in the same manner, but I didn't feel the process came off as well in the video, thus it being so short. I think the process shows more clearly in this video, and I'll go a little further in depth in my description of the process. As you can see, starting in this manner also helps establish where all the details are on the models and helps define them. With each layer of dry brushing, more and more detail appears, and the gradients of highlight and shadow are firmly established, lending you a roadmap to follow as you glaze in the colors when beginning the painting process. As I lay down these gradients of undershading and begin setting my skin tones and base coats, I'd like to take a moment to talk to you about Kids' Choice Camps and those involved. I'll have Nat's email in the description if you'd like to get involved or have questions about pursuing such a program in your area. Nat.Davis is the founder and lead instructor of Kids' Choice Camps. He has been facilitating enrichment activities for kids K through 10th grade since 2002. Kyle Bascom has been an avid learner, player, and teacher of a wide variety of board games, card games, and tabletop role-playing games for most of his life. He brings with him multiple years of experience teaching these types of games and is a mainstay of both the Friday night board games and Saturday D&D program. He joined Kids' Choice Camps in March of 2020, and the success of the tabletop role-playing games and board game programming has only become possible through his incredible creativity and dedication. Erin Duggan is an overworked recreation coordinator at Corte Madera Parks and Recreation. With endless responsibility, she still finds a way to give tons of administrative support to the programs so they can focus on creating compelling activities for the participants. As you can see, as I apply the glazes, the translucent nature of my Nightmare Landscapes paints conform and enhance the gradients established from the dry brushing. I was able to push the contrasts further by mixing blue, red, and purple into a variety of tones and applying them in the appropriate areas, deepening the shadows and brightening those areas that would catch light. Some areas, such as the decorative work on Lucretia's robes, I re-dry brushed to help them stand out even more. Then applied a glaze of straight Nightmare Landscapes purple. In the artwork, Lucretia's skin looked very pale, so I'd started with a light base color, then layered up with more bleached out skin tone, lending a paler appearance. I tried to stay as true as I could to the original artwork when painting these miniatures. With her entire garb being purple, I concentrated heavily on the contrast of shadow and light so she wouldn't appear monotone on the table. In the end, I feel she is a good representation of the artwork. Next up was Eldrick Runeweaver. Eldrick's skin tone is much darker skin tone than the bleached out Lucretia, so I started with Nightmare Landscapes dark skin tone, then layered up with 50-50 dark and medium skin tone to medium skin tone to establish a richer African American skin as represented in the artwork. As with Lucretia, Eldrick was covered in a lot of purple in the artwork, To tackle his paint job and to keep him from looking exactly the same, I altered my mixtures of red, blue, and purple to give him a different appearance and not an exact copy of Lucretia's clothing. For the satchel on his side, I chose to wet blend various colors on my palette, using the combination of colors present on the model already to achieve this, gave the satchel continuity with the rest of the miniature and allowed me to add texture and varied layers of color representing wear and age. With Eldrick Runeweaver now completed, I was ready to move on to Elias Drexel, which would be a breath of fresh air to move on from predominantly purple color schemes. But with purple being the mother color running through the entirety of the artwork, I did add the slightest touch of purple into the brown I chose to paint his leather armor with. This would ground him into the color scheme of the rest of the models, and accomplish my desire to remain as true as I could to the concept art as possible. I darkened my nightmare green with a very dark purple when painting his cloak, again trying to keep that mother color present in the entirety of the paint scheme. Continuity between the characters, remaining true to the artist's concept, as I had mentioned, was a driving force when painting these figures. I also wanted the players, Eric, Charlotte, Frank, Parker, and Mason, to feel all of these models belong together in the Dungeons of Drakkenheim, as they bravely ventured forth to slay the evil. With the majority of this model painted, it was time to move on to Theodore Marshall. This model too was a change of pace considering he was covered in so much armor. His cape is blue, and in turn I began his hair with a dark blue base coat. My idea when painting him was to lean into blues with my metallics, and dark blues for the shadows on his left side, while using the purple mother color as shadows on his right. And speaking of the mother color, to keep in step with including it throughout all the models, my deep and deepest shadows included purple mixed in with my blues. I glazed in Nightmare Black to darken his hair and tone down the blues of the base coat, and began work on the halo of light around the top of his head. I used a variety of grays and white when doing this. I'd hash in short choppy lines to an extreme highlight and then glaze them back down until I had achieved the look that I was going for. On his cape I used straight Nightmare Blue on the top and on the highest of highlights. A darker purple blue was used in the folds and shadows. These were thinned but not to an extreme glaze consistency, and I wet blended them on the model to sketch in my values. When painting his armor, I used both Nightmare Landscapes silver and plain old Apple Barrel craft paint silver. The Apple Barrel is a brighter, shinier silver, and that I used for the highlight areas, while in turn, the Nightmare Landscape silver is a darker silver and worked great for the shadowed areas. I carried the light purple to dark blue shadow transition onto his shield as well, adding glazes and blending the transition mid-shield. This was a bit of a diversion from the concept art, but I felt it looked right to follow the colors and shadows I'd established on the model. It was now time for the punch list. Armed with my Nightmare Black wash, I carefully spot washed these models in areas where I wanted to bump up the contrast and make details stand out. If darkening shadows wasn't enough, a quick dry brush of white, then a glaze over the dry brush, pops the details out nicely. Another thing I was taking care of in the last step were the features on these miniatures that I had ignored up until now, like the details on Theodore Marshall's shield, and defining some of the extreme highlights on his armor and his shield with a glaze of Nightmare Gold. The Queen of Thieves, I felt, needed more contrast, so I included more Nightmare Red into the highlighted areas while deepening the dark purple shadows. It gave her more of a scarlet appearance, I felt. I even wet blended the top of her big floppy hat to get a little more of that scarlet or crimson color into her. And there you have them, the Dungeons of Drakkenheim faction leaders. I've had a lot of fun painting these models for the kid choice camps, and I hope you enjoyed this video. There is one more coming in this series, and boy are there some good baddies in this one. So check out my links in the description about Nat, Kids Choice Camp, Nightmare Landscapes, Dungeon Dudes, Dungeons of Drakkenheim, and more. If you like this video, let me know. Comments are more than welcome. If you like my videos, please like, share, and subscribe. I have some good video ideas coming over the next few months, and I hope to see you all there. Until then, make some magic happen. I'm Wes, and this is Wizardry.